Let's start off with just give us a little background about who you are and why you are the dopamine dealer of LinkedIn, because I think that's super relevant. And I also know we're going to get into a bunch of cool stuff that's going on with LinkedIn and AI and all the things I've been seeing you post
Yeah.
about. But give us a little background because everybody can go back, and I'll probably make a note in the show notes. Like I'll go note your other couple episodes because we go pretty deep into like your backstory and stuff like that. But touch on
Yeah.
that. There's some reference, and then let's talk about who you are.
Start off as a kid, selling candy out of my locker and go,
I like those
I've
stories,
got it
but
so
yeah.
polished. When we start from there, you want me to start mid now? No, brother. It's, like for everyone listening to be able to understand where I've been, where I'm at, and actually where I'm going, like I started back 20, dude, it makes me feel old, 20 years ago, 2003 to 2004 in the online advertising space. I mean, it wasn't my first run. I was in the real estate biz back then. And I realized really quickly that the writing on the wall for 2008 was coming because people were buying their homes for $300,000 in California, and now they owed 900,000 because they were refinancing and taking 100% equity out. And I was like, dude, they're going the wrong way. This is not how it's supposed to work. So,
Yeah, kidding.
I jumped into this other arena. It was very fresh, very new, and honestly, man, I got to be able to really quickly, work for a company. Then that company shifted because the owner changed from business owner to business operator. And there's a huge difference in that. And like most people don't realize those aspects. And he kind of closed down the company pretty quickly. But I built some amazing relationships that allow one of my first big clients to be a company that most people forget about, MySpace, right? Like,
Yeah.
depending on your age, like my kids are like, Dad,
Huh?
what's MySpace? Yeah. But,
Yeah.
they were my first clients. Everyone's like, do you know Tom? I'm like, I ran across him. He wasn't like a massive pivotal person in the company. He was more a social figure. But, Gabe, like back then, I mean, you didn't really monetize traffic like they do now. And so like me coming in there, I actually helped them create one of the first, and this was an epiphany that happened to me just a couple of years ago. I never really talked about it, but I actually helped them create one of the first social media ads to be able to monetize their traffic that actually most social media ads are based off of today. So
Wow.
like I had a pretty heavy hand in monetizing the web in that space because how they existed, they didn't exist. And like we created that together there. And back then it was arbitrage, right? I had relationships with, well, it was Overture at the time. Most people know it as Yahoo. And we would, use their ads and then be able to serve them up and buy traffic at pennies on the dollar. And I mean, it was crazy. It was like printing money. I was buying keywords like mesothelioma for like a penny. And then I was turning around and selling it for $500 a click. We're not even talking
Holy
about CPA, right?
cow.
Dude. So like we were making a couple million a month and it was insane at a young age. And so like, that's where my career started. And I mean, you and I both know a lot of people that started that way and they're not where they are today because it consumed them.
Yeah.
And
It's
to a certain extent, man, and it consumed me as well because I started going in there. I started monetizing damn near every acronym you could imagine online, CPA, CPM, CPL, and I started going through these different aspects. And it was an amazing journey. And I also realized too, people were coming to me for advice on how to be able to do things. And I had built a back end company. So it was really easy for me to be able to go, hey, look, you're amazing at what you do. Let me use my back end of marketing, advertising, finance, all that other aspect to back you up. You do what you do. I'm going to take 51% of your company and let's really blow up. And honestly, that allowed me to be able to build 15 different companies,
wow.
ranging from anywhere from six, 7, and 8 figures that were running. And up until about 8 or 9 years ago, when I went through I'll be honest, a life reset, a divorce, where it was my choice to be able to kind of walk away from everything. And I closed down all 10 of my companies because I mentioned earlier too about being consumed. I was, but I wasn't at the same time. I was un, unaligned with it because most people see success. I was successful, like monetary, but I wasn't I was monetary successful, but I wasn't successful in life. I was 40 pounds overweight, never been overweight in my life. My relationships would become monetary and I had no vision about where I was going. And like I'd mentioned to you earlier, like I was contemplating if the money I would leave for my kids would actually be more important than me. And it was crazy, dude. I would sit in my office. I mean, like people are like, oh, well, Josh has got it all. And I mean, I would stare at the wall for 8 hours. And I remember that office door shutting, brother. And I remember that office becoming not only a sanctuary for me, but a coffin that I would contemplate, right? And a good friend of mine, and I think you know him as well too, Jesse Elder, actually gave me permission to be able to take my life back and to give my former hers. And So I walked away. I closed on everything. She cared more about the money. I cared about the time with myself and my kids that we couldn't get back. And I kind of reset. And to get to where I am today, right? Like I was going to be a life coach. I had my man bun, my mala beads, my pendulum had swung. I wrote my book, Balancing Bullshit, how to
Nice.
live an integrated life, talk about all the things that I was too scared to be able to share with, but I was forgetting my past to forge my new future. And we can't do that. And as entrepreneurs, we try to be able to do that. As human beings, we try to be able to do that. And you have to be able to merge your past, learn from your past to be able to create your new future, make them one. And that's kind of where the dopamine dealer of LinkedIn came in, because I started on a platform realizing that was only B2B. Everyone's like, oh, it's B2B. I was like, dude, I've seen enough traffic. I've monetized over $1 billion in advertising. Had 35 trillion online impressions across my own servers. And there's a huge difference between traffic and actually true engagement. Most people don't know what it is.
Yeah, no
And
kidding.
there is no B2B or B2C. Dude, it's all H to H.
Yep.
And so that's kind of where it went, man. I was on a podcast like this, and I was explaining my process of how I just do the things that my mom taught me how to treat other human beings, about these little dopamine hits. And the podcast comes out. It's like, Joshua B. Lee, dopamine dealer of LinkedIn, and kind of stuck. And now we get to work with amazing humans that, dude, I used to read their books on how to be able to start my own companies years ago. And now I get to help them educate, inspire, and draw on their audience and not sell them. And I'm excited about it, man. Instead of what I was doing, monetizing the web, I have now made such a huge adjustment to humanize the web and humanize brands online, because we need that more than ever.
Yeah.
I'll shut up.
No, you're good. I love it. That's a great, concise opener, because I know when people ask me my story, I'm like, okay, where do I start and what should I cover? So, but I love that. And it's from, I don't remember when we connected. I have to look years ago at this point. I just remember from first connecting, I was like, wow, this guy's legit. Like, he's real. He's authentic. Like, he's just actually speaking his mind. He cares about people. And it's so apparent. And I love what you touched on in the beginning there, because I've built and lost companies. I've made the millions. Worked on the big projects. Like, I've had my finger or my hand in, huge companies too over the years. And that's all fun and it's great. And it's a wonderful experience. I like that you touched on, like, don't abandon your past. That's a bad move, but that's not wealth. Like, it doesn't matter what's in your bank account, maybe is a factor of wealth, but that's not the whole picture of wealth. And, when we get to really look and say, okay, like, how do I want to live my life, and what are fulfilling relationships like, and what is peace and happiness and contentment and self-care and self-love look like, then you can be wealthy with whatever's in your bank account. And so it's so refreshing, because we can name all the idiots we both probably see online periodically that are screaming about how much money you need to make and how many X's you need to increase to be worthy, is how that messaging comes across to me. And that's scary that that's still so prolific, but it's so good to have folks like you in the world that are reminding people what really matters and showing that you can do what really matters and be successful and make money and have what you want without selling your soul. So,
and dude, I wish I could say that it really was just like, it was always in me, but honestly, where I first realized it, and honestly, this is kind of where too I started shifting in my own perspective. And I remember my former, after this experience, she was like, what are you doing? Why are you trying to change the world? Like, do what you do best, monetize it, make money. And I was like, that's when I knew, like, that gap had grown too large between us at that point in time. But like, dude, honestly, crazy story, but it actually happened on Necker Island with Richard Branson.
Wow.
It was one of the first times that I'd ever been out there. I was introduced to this new group called Maverick 1000 early on with Yannick Silver. And I was like, all right, I got to go out there, these marketers, stuff like that. I'm trying to be able to shift. I would always been the advertising side, and people don't, even though, again, most companies don't realize advertising and marketing are different. They're actually different communities too.
Yes.
And so, like, I got invited, and it was so surreal, bro, because, like, I'm with people that are I'm running amazing businesses, but at the same time adding value to this world and high-fiving each other on the success they've achieved. Because I had lived in a life where I was surrounding myself with a lot of people that loved the success, but never wanted to hear me talk about it. They just wanted the monetary benefits of me being around.
Mm-hmm.
And that was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard mentally, right? To be able to surround, like, and so, like, being on that island and being able to see these things and being able to meet someone like Richard, who's just a normal human being, was so open, honest, and opening, you know, and to be able to see all these other, I was like, wow, there are people like me, and I can be this person, and I'm not alone, right? And so, like, if someone else has done it, hell yeah, I can do it too. And so that's kind of where really my shift really started to happen, even before the reset, the divorce, like that. That's where the seed was kind of really planted in my mind, because I thought I was doing that stuff by giving back. You know, we make money, then we give back to charity afterwards and all their stuff. Like, I'm doing well, and I pay for people's stuff because I have the extra money. And a lot of that was for my own ego. Even though I
Yeah.
thought I was doing well, it was like to make me feel better about me. It wasn't about them. And hindsight being 2020, I can see that now.
Mm-hmm.
But you know,
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really interesting because I want to kind of dive into some of that. And part of what's interesting to me that I can look back and understand now, and I'm way more intentional moving forward now, is by intention and probably half accident. At least I've done it. It sounds like maybe it's similar for you. You re-engineer your environment of who you're around, and then that plants the seed, and then there's the awareness and things like that. And I like to remind myself and my son and everybody that I get to work with or talk about, like, if you can be intentional about engineering the environment around you, then everything changes. But if you just kind of take what's given to you, success or not, or however you describe it, and don't have that awareness, then you will end up really heading down the wrong path. And that's a powerful realization, because I want to go a little bit deeper in what you said, because I think there's a low awareness and low education around the difference between sales and marketing. And
yeah.
I am not the dopamine dealer of LinkedIn, but I've hung out there for a while and done some things there. And I always
Yeah.
notice that when I have those seasons and those year over year periods where I really lean in and invest more and connect with more people and really focus on that awareness of just always being present, that moves the needle in revenue and sales, but that is not sales. And so
Right.
I'd like to just have you unpack that, because I think that people always say, yeah, I need sales and marketing. Well, yeah, you do need those two separate things, but don't be, mushing them together, because it's going to be harder for you to have an effective strategy that will move the needle in the way you want if you're thinking marketing is a short-term sales play or advertising play. So like sales, advertising, and marketing are three very different and highly interconnected things. I'd love to have you break that down a little bit, because I don't think that that's talked
Oh
about
yeah.
effectively.
Hell, we could add a whole another one too, branding, right? Like, you know,
Yeah,
like
branding.
this,
Yeah, exactly. Marketing, branding,
these
of
are all
course.
things
Yeah.
that kind of go through. But you know, like, and I don't think everyone gets it, right? Because we'll go in. I heard Damon John. I was at Genius Network, Joe Polish's group, and Damon came in, and you know, he said, "Look, I do marketing." He's like, "You know what marketing is? Most people don't understand it. I'm not here to be able to close the deal for you." He goes, "Think about this." He goes, "Marketing is basically, I'm a dating app. I'm going to go through and I'm going to find the best results and the best people for you to be able to connect with. I'm going to introduce you to these high qualified individuals. But it's not my job to be able to close the deal, to get you a second date, to be able to help you know, you know, all those different aspects. Like, I'm just there to get that first date for you, to be able to make that introduction, build that relationship." And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the biggest thing that people go. Sales is what you need to do afterwards. Okay, now I've got the introduction. They know who I am. Now it's time to be able to close the deal, to be able to get it to the next date, right? To be able to
Mm-hmm.
go to the next opportunity. And I think that's an easy thing for most people to understand. We relate it back to humanity, whatever. I'm making up
We'll
words
use
now.
it. We'll roll it.
You know, it's an aspect, because when you look at it, we've all been told that ROI is 100% money driven, right? What's my return on investment, right? Well, if I put $1,000 in, I need to get $1,000 back out.
Yeah.
Well, if you put ROI and you look at that aspect into marketing, you're never going to be satisfied with the results that you're trying to be able to achieve, because that's not marketing.
Yeah.
That's sales, that's advertising, right? That's honestly, that's advertising, right? Like, you look at, I put $1,000 in, did I make $1,001 back, right? Now I know my ads are working or my ads are not. You know,
Yeah.
sales is, what's my close ratio? I'm having conversations. I've had 10 conversations, I closed 5. My sales are 50%. Marketing, again, this is that big piece, right? Like, it's branding comes into marketing, right? There's being able to have your name. Like, even though I know who Elon Musk is, he doesn't know who I am. And that's what
Yep.
really matters.
Exactly. You can't
So,
sell to
and
them.
sales and advertising, I can use sales and advertising to sell or advertise to Elon, But if I want him to know who I am, I better have amazing marketing, branding, and PR on that side for him to be able to come to me. And honestly, that's what we need to be able to have. People forget to be able to invest in marketing, and they're just like, well, screw marketing. Like, I'm just going to go straight ads. Well, then your conversions, your margins get so tight. Like, I
Yeah.
tell anyone, Gabe, like, if you're going to do LinkedIn advertising, I'm not going to take you on for LinkedIn advertising until you get organic done right first.
Yeah.
Then we can go through, if you have something like, most times you don't need even advertising with how LinkedIn works, but if you need to be able to go in there, like, you have to be able to have that, because the margins will actually shrink. You need this ability for someone to be able to know, like, and trust you.
Yeah. That's a great definition of it. And you're right. And that's just like the journey we walk through, like as entrepreneurs, even if we just look at our development as humans, from, babies to children to teens to adults, is I think it's normal to like think we understand a concept because we saw it once or twice and like, oh, that's what this part of life is, or that's part of business is. And if we really spend the time and attention and the investment that we will really get a good ROI out of our time and attention and education and learning and building, get high ROI to that all the time, I think, then we can
Yeah.
understand, oh, there's all these components, there's these interconnected aspects, there's these layers to it. And when we, really take the time to consider those things, then we can see how they overlay. Because you're right. I like to tell people, if you're just going to do straight advertising and be like opening a physical business, brick and mortar, with no signs, no windows, and then somehow expecting people, like maybe you run out in the street and try to flag them down and bring them into this place that they don't know what it is. There's no familiarity. They've never driven by and going, oh, that's the restaurant or that's the shoe store or whatever it is. And you're just trying to convert people when you haven't just taken the basics of, well, get your name out there, start to educate people, brand about what you're about, let them know you're in the community, let them know you care, then advertise. And they'll be like, oh yeah, I know those people, I'll buy from them. But it's when we skip steps or think that it's just one thing, it's never just one thing in life or entrepreneurship. If we think it's just that one thing that we can, or one funnel away, I love that phrase, then you end up being in trouble if you don't have the entire kind of ecosystem built around that.
Well, dude, I mean, like, I love what you just said, because, like, real world experiences, right? Storytelling. And like, for me, I can tell you a story about what just happened last night. Rachel and I, my amazing wife, went on a date last night to this place that we had seen marketing on, right? Instagram videos, like all over the place. People are talking about this place called the Guest House. It's got these cool drinks and this like all kind of crazy stuff. And I'm like, dude, I want to go there. Guess what they don't have? When you go up there, I was like, where the hell is this place? Like, I knew, at least because there's no sign. It's just a
Oh my
door
God.
in a building downtown. All the
Yeah.
windows are blacked out. You don't know it's even there. And
Yeah.
guess what? How do that place? And dude, like, I got a 6-month-old at the house now, right? I got my 14, my daughter just turned 12, and now I got a 6-month-old. So guess what? My dinners are at 5:15, 5:30.
Yeah, that's right.
I can get home, right? I'm having, dinner, so I'm with the old folks. But like in Austin, it's so hard to get a reservation. Dude, we were there at 5:15. Guess what? Restaurant was packed. And I
Wow.
guarantee you they didn't spend $1 on advertising. They used marketing to be able to make that happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's a great example because, yeah, if you don't have the marketing, the branding in place, then your ads don't work. And if you have really effective branding, marketing in place, you really don't need to advertise because people will just spread the word. And like,
Yeah.
it's never one or the other in my mind. In most cases, at least, that's not always the path. But it's foolish to think you can just advertise or just flip a switch and everybody's going to trust you and want to come hang out with you.
Yeah, it's that thing, dude. I mean, and like, I think people get it mixed up on LinkedIn, right? Because this is why the messaging is so confusing. Because again, they think marketing and advertising are the same thing. So they go through and they're like, oh, I'm gonna do lead gen on LinkedIn. I mean, everyone does it. It's amazing. So I'm gonna basically send a message out to 1,000 people and hope to get that one sale. When in essence, I just pissed off 998 people because I just spam them with the message, "Hey, Josh, ever thought about using LinkedIn to get leads?" No, actually, I don't. I look at LinkedIn for a relationship building and high end opportunity place to be able to do that, right? To be able to connect with other human beings. Like lead gen, dude, that's one of the biggest problems with LinkedIn because everyone thinks that's what they can do. They're going to scrape your email, they're going to scrape your phone number, and they're going to be able to go in. They're playing this numbers game. And I think we're in a world now. I mean, look, if you're a multi-billion-dollar company, fine, you can play numbers games and stuff like that. But most of us, I don't want to make $1 million marketing to or messaging 1 million people for $1, right?
Yeah.
I want to be able to actually create advocates through marketing because they believe in what I do and how I say and what I share. And I've educated them enough to be able to do that. And then they actually bring in the 1,000 clients to me because again, anything else other than that, it's just spamming. And that's one of the biggest issues that people have. And I think it's because of the confusion of what they're taught and what they believe. I mean, and LinkedIn's that platform, like they don't stand for that. They go through any type of automated bots and stuff like that. You get caught using that. Those bots that do that kind of automation, like they update their programs every 24 hours. You've got a new update to that program because they're trying to stay ahead of LinkedIn. And dude, like we haven't even got into it yet, but with what LinkedIn's doing with AI, those people better watch out. They're even faster, dude. Like a couple months ago, I was at LinkedIn headquarters, and I mean, we can get into Microsoft owning LinkedIn and Microsoft's investment in OpenAI. Let me tell you, future of business, future of search is LinkedIn. And people better start recognizing that the marketing and branding you're doing on there is going to be vastly more important compared to what you're doing in any type of advertising right now, if you're thinking about the future rather than immediate situation currently. I mean, look, I told you about that, right? I felt my downfall was I wasn't looking towards the future. I was just looking at where I was at. And that's where most people are at with advertising.
Yeah. And we're definitely going to dive into that here in a minute because I'm noticing, well, first I'll just always admit, honestly, I'm the guy that has tried all that stuff and broken every platform that I've played on too, because I want to know the parameters. And so I've tested that and I've used the bots and I've used the bots and they are a terrible idea. So we both said they're a terrible idea and you have probably the world's biggest expert on LinkedIn telling you don't do it. So try not to do that because it'd be a bad idea and it will get you kicked out. And if it doesn't get kicked out, you'll create a brand of negativity around who you are. And that's probably that's way worse than getting kicked off a platform. But I'm seeing
work for like a month or two, but then you're dead. You have to reinvent your brand again.
Yeah. And it's time consuming to build a valuable brand. So don't burn it to the ground. And on all platforms across the board that our team, we work in a lot of different platforms with our clients. On all platforms, there is an increasing and almost aggressive aversion to the spammy tactics or, right now I'm getting just hammered on Facebook with bot comments, but I'm also getting real people who have been misinformed and misguided and miseducated and scammed by their guru, quote unquote, who, message me and like, hey, how you doing, Gabe? And like, blah, blah, blah. And then they're immediately just jumping into discovery and uncovery. And when I see that, I'm like, it wouldn't be you, Josh, but if it was, I'd be like, hey, Josh, like, I didn't agree to get into a discovery conversation. I'm super happy to like build a relationship with you, but let's just table you trying to sell to me in the first 3 minutes that you connected with me, because I have zero interest in that. And my trust for you has dropped to negative, 100, instead of like us going, oh, like here's a cool new human. Here's what they're up to. In the future, maybe I do want to do business with you. But if you approach it that way, you just blow everything up. And there is just such a market trend against that for all of us humans that want to show up as humans. Yeah. And so I think it's just super, super dangerous to continue to play that game that, like, I started out when Google ads were cheap too. We've all evolved through this, but it is not 2005. It's almost 2025. No. So we probably should update our strategies and realize that we don't lack we no longer, as just general business owners at any stage, we no longer lack the ability to reach a bunch of people at once. We are lacking the sophistication and intention and understanding that it's a one-to-one connection repeated over and over that will bring wealth in the way that we're talking about it. So I'm super curious. Yeah, thank you. I'm super curious about
before you jump to how did we actually even get to that, right? Like, how do we actually get, like, I see like you and I are connected to a lot of people on Facebook, right? And so I'm like, I'll see like, oh, well, we have 150 connections. This person looks legit. Let me connect. And then they freaking spam me with that, like you just said. And like, it's happening more and more now than ever before. And I'm like, delete. I'm like, what? Like, where are the real humans anymore that are running businesses? Like, what are they? And why are all my friends connected to these people?
My relatively unresearched theory, but just from walking it through every day, is I think that there are too many fast food influencers selling to inexperienced entrepreneurs. Like I don't name those people because I don't think they deserve.
You and I see it every time, ever since the new fast food, entrepreneurs put it out there, right? Like all of a sudden you see all the same messages come out. You're like, oh, someone just launched a new influencer program.
Exactly. And
You know,
And what
LinkedIn all
I
the time.
exactly what I do really love is LinkedIn is really, like you said, we'll get into this, but LinkedIn is managing that well compared to all their platforms. But I think that what's
Yeah.
happening is there's just too many. There's too many people that wake up and say, "Oh, I'm going to be a life coach today," with no experience. There's too many people that have these big aspirations and they're just sold something that doesn't work, and then because let me back up and say this more effectively. When I look at I could name the 3 or 4 loudmouths that say you only need this one thing or you just do this, and if you actually dig into those people, because I've read their books, I've listened to their podcasts, I've met a handful of them in person, and they're great human beings.
Gabe,
It's
you and
been
I
about them
kind of
as
consulted with one of them for a while too. So, you know.
yeah. We'll talk about that one off the air, but they're good. They're well intentioned people, but if you dig into the stories of the people that have the biggest, loudest platforms, the vast majority of them, they didn't make their own money. Somebody put money in their company. They don't actually have the start from nothing success that they claim to have. They're dealing from, they're living from insecurity and fear, and they're selling at the level that they know how to sell. And it's easy to, well, I don't know if it's easy. I just see them attracting people that are not sophisticated, and they're just kind of more shallow in their intention because they haven't evolved as humans and entrepreneurs and leaders. And then
Well
it's
said.
just it's prolific, and we all kind of pay the price for this moronic behavior that nobody would ever do face to face in a human to human, like physical interaction. I would never walk up to you at a network meeting, have never met you, Josh, and go, "Hey, Josh, nice to meet you." Okay, hey, tell me about your business. Like, oh, how many clients are you looking to get
Yeah.
this year? Are you open to receiving new clients? Of course, I fucking open to receiving new clients. Don't use that line on me, but I don't want to work with you. So don't get me started on that. So, because it's like I just can't stand it. And, but I think that the
Well, those are
market
the people that I
is,
always saw that would walk up and just hand me a business card. Like,
yeah,
hey, I'm Josh Lee. Here's my business. Take my business card. I'm like, well, I know you're good at wasting money already because like you probably spent like $2 on that car and you just gave it to me without any knowing anything about me or if there's any opportunities. So like if you're willing to waste money, you're gonna waste my time. I'm out.
yeah. And what's
Sorry,
interesting,
I
just
know
in
this
that,
is corporate mentality to be able to hand business cards out, but like,
yeah.
why before you at least understand there's an opportunity for even relationship or anything, right? Like,
Or find out if Gabe's actually an asshole and you do want to work with him or not. Like, right? Like, just like actually connect. Yeah. But
yeah,
it's wild what we're seeing just because there's so much noise. But I actually think on the whole, market sophistication is just incrementally increasing. And so I just think that these tactics will continue to they're blatantly obvious to anybody that's been in business
yeah.
for at least a few years. And my hope is that if LinkedIn is leading the way and saying like, we don't do that kind of crap on these platforms, that hopefully we'll have some influence on other platforms. But little rabbit trail there, but
I'm telling you, with everyone's playing catch up right now, they're realizing it. I mean, with what they're doing, like we talk about integrity of platforms, right? A couple months ago, depending on when this goes live, the Senate had a hearing on just malpractices that are happening on social media. Guess what? Every single social media platform was there except for one, LinkedIn.
because they don't do
And
that shit.
people, I don't know if people paid attention to that, right? Like there's a reason,
Good
like they
point.
weren't there. So let's pay attention to these things, like where they're going. I mean, and especially with the AI, I think companies are starting to go through. I mentioned this briefly, Microsoft, partnership with OpenAI and what they're doing on LinkedIn. There's a reason why too. Apple is not, even though they're going to put their own AI out, they're looking to be able to partner with Google and in Gemini to be able to actually put Gemini on Apple iPhones because of what the partnership looks like with OpenAI, Microsoft, and LinkedIn right now, and people are scared. And
They
so, like
have
you
to
talk about
compete.
following suit, they're going to be following suit because look, you're going to bet against Microsoft. I'm telling you right now, you're making the wrong bet. They've been around for too
Yeah.
long. They're they're worth more than any other company in the world, and there's a reason behind it. You might not always align with Bill Gates or Satya or whoever runs the companies, but how they're doing things and what they're doing, people should be paying attention because they really are changing the game on what was allowed and how things will be dictated in the future.
Yeah. And we're going to get super deep into LinkedIn and the power of OpenAI and all of that, which I've already, I don't have anywhere near the level of knowledge or experience you doing it because you're so tied into it and that's your focus. But I already see massive shift, and across all platforms, the impact of AI and like the how
Yeah.
platforms are just absolutely shutting down bad behavior. We won't
Yeah.
go too far in this, but the Apple and Microsoft 2 or 3 years ago basically said, if you're sending unwanted email, and I'm not saying spam, if you're sending unwanted email, you're not going to make it into the main folder. And so
Right.
Apple and Microsoft did that a long time ago. Google and Yahoo closed the loop on that in February,
Yep.
and nobody's paying attention because I'm seeing friends and people I've worked with or known over the past, 5, 10, 15 years now. They're all
Yeah.
getting dumped in my spam box because they're just not paying attention to the fact that if somebody's not opening your emails, it doesn't matter if you're going to spam, stop sending to them. They don't want to hear from you.
Yeah.
And it's the
Right.
same kind of mindset around what's going on with LinkedIn. But yeah, let's dive
They
into
do,
that because
remember,
I'm
dude. I mean, like you said a couple years ago, the whole thing in the EU, GDPR compliant, right? Like, and everyone goes, "Oh, that's not the states, so I can still get away with it."
yeah.
Come on, y'all! Like, seriously, like, let's. If that's where everything's going, like, play to the future. Don't worry about how much money you can make now in the short term. Play the long game, and I guarantee you will win longer.
Yeah, and more and better.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, let's get into more what's happening, and I'll just kind of like you're the expert here, so I'll let you lead. But tell us about like what big shifts you've seen since OpenAI has gotten involved with LinkedIn, and just tell us kind of like lay the groundwork, and then I'd love to see where you're guiding your clients and what you're just sharing with people as far as how they should be paying attention, how they should be able to invest in what is
Yeah.
becoming has always been a quality platform, in my opinion, is becoming a high quality platform to connect and build communities and engage with humans.
Yeah, brother. I mean, like, look, here's the thing. First off, like to close the loop on everything we talked about, y'all, like the one thing I want everyone to pay attention to and why we're about to get an AI is because of the fact that I think most marketers, you heard me say it very quickly, but I said there's no B2B or B2C, right? B2B and B2C are just ways to diversify ad spend, business to business, business to consumer. They were made up by guys like me and Gabe a couple decades ago to be able to get more money from you, because every business, it was run by another human being. Most marketers forget that. So everything is H to H, human to human, person to person, however you want to play it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be more important now than ever with where everything is going with AI. Because Gabe, dude, like, we'll go into LinkedIn, but like AI, like the biggest thing that I want everyone to understand is currently right now, and I'm not sure how long it will take to get there or what level we will see it at, but AI is not an appliance. I can't go in there now. I made this reference, and my wife corrected me. I said, AI is not a dishwasher. She goes, yeah, because you got to wash your dishes before you put in the dishwasher. And I'm like, well, yeah, you're right. Okay, so I can't say that because we already know dishwashers are broken. Because like, why do I have to wash my dishes before I put it in the dishwasher? But it's not an appliance like my clothes washer, right? Like it doesn't. I put my clothes in and it washes the clothes, right? So like, it's a tool, and a tool in the right person's hands, right? Humans' hands can create a masterpiece or can create destruction. And so that's where I want everyone to understand is, right? Like that's what we have to be able to think about with AI. So when we look at how that actually correlates to where LinkedIn is going, they're taking the forefront on how to be able to control this and what is happening, where it's going. Microsoft owns LinkedIn. They bought them a couple years back for $24.6 billion. Now that relationship that LinkedIn is, I think, is a little over 85 billion. I mean, one of their biggest cash investments and returns on an investment ever in history. Because of that, they've also invested in another little company called OpenAI, aka ChatGPT. They own, well, to the public, they own like 48% of it, but we all saw with Sam Altman and like that. Like, if you don't believe that Microsoft owns and runs that company, controls it, you're fooling yourself, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So with that, and I mean, look, Microsoft, dude, I love Copilot, right? They've got their own little app, they do own thing, but like what they're doing with LinkedIn, dude, it's changing the game because they went in and what they're doing is what Elon Musk really was doing with Twitter, right? Everyone goes, oh, Elon Musk bought Twitter, they changed X. Dude, he didn't care about the social media platform. He cared about the human algorithm on that platform to be able to develop his next AI. He was indexing all the humans. And that's what LinkedIn, Microsoft, and OpenAI are doing with that platform better than he did 10x fold. Because again, they
Yeah.
are being methodical on how they are doing it. And what they're doing is, like, most people don't realize LinkedIn is one of the most indexable sites out there for Google, where everyone goes, right? I can take, Gabe, and I do this every day now with our clients, like, and I do it myself. Like, when I post, when I do a video, when I do an article, when I do a newsletters, let me tell you, dude, we can go in there. I get a notification from Google Alerts within a couple hours letting me know it's been indexed on Google.
Wow.
That is
That's fast.
crazy. And it gets high index because it's 100 out of 100, when we're talking about this aspect. So like newsletters are really big right now. Like, I keep on telling people, like, dude, y'all, that's great. Run your newsletter. You better be doing it on LinkedIn as well too, because now it's getting indexed across Google. Now that's
Yeah,
just
no
a piece of
kidding.
the tip of the iceberg, right? Like, we're talking about AI. Well, because of that partnership, they're using LinkedIn to be able to use as the basis of their indexing for where search is going, where future business is going, which is generative search. And so they're going through to be able to use that platform and indexing everything. Because, dude, honestly, I don't want to be, look, I can make my own AI. I can hire someone to be able to do it. I'll be competing against the other billion people. I actually want to
Yeah.
be the person that's counting the results. That's what I've always done with LinkedIn, because on LinkedIn, if I posted on there, I was the person that found the results. If I educated my audience on Google as well, because I posted on LinkedIn, and now in OpenAI, ChatGPT. So this is where things are going. And I mean, dude, I've been able to have a back seat to be able to work with the beta team on some of the stuff that's coming out. It's mind blowing how they're doing it, brother. And like, look, we can jump into how everyone listening can actually leverage it as well, because every single person has access to be able to do this and be the authority, not just the expert. Because guess what? Everyone's an expert right now with AI, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you're like the guy leaning on the Ferrari on the side of the street that you just ran by, like, hey, you went on a Ferrari? Like, cool, me too,
Yeah.
right? They just forgot to
Right.
put that in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's explore that because and let's bring forward that principle that you called out that I think is so important to understand and just highlight. You said, yeah, here's what Elon did with Twitter X, and
Yeah,
here's what OpenAI did and Microsoft with LinkedIn, and they're miles ahead because they were methodical and intentional. And what you didn't say, but I assume you'd agree with, and was kind of leading to, is
yeah,
that they were taking into consideration the humans in the experience and the human result and the value they want to create. So as we
100%.
talk about the foundational things that you'd recommend for folks that want to leverage LinkedIn and grow there, what are the kind of the methodical, intentional steps or foundational pieces that you see? And then what would you highlight as like, tactical, strategic stuff on top of that?
Of course. So let's go fundamental at first. You know, be able to go through first and foremost. Don't create content. Don't send messaging. Don't do any of this stuff until you've rocked out your LinkedIn profile. If you're not taking time, energy, and effort to not just put your resume on there, but actually tell your career journey, be able to go through every aspect of it, from where you've been, where you're at, where you're going, you're going to miss out on your audience. So you send a message and they go back to your profile and it looks like a resume. You're not looking for a job. Hell, even if you are looking for a job, don't put your resume on there. You
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
you're missing out. You put content out there, they go back to your profile. Like, LinkedIn is the number one trusted site out there when people are trying to make a decision or to be able to get information to make a decision. 90% of the time, they're going to LinkedIn to be able to check it out, right? To be able to make
Yeah.
sure you're a real you, right? We kind of learned this back in the day with Clubhouse when it was a big thing, because we had too many trillionaires on there, and nothing added up because they were spending 18 hours a day on a social media platform, but they were trillionaires. So like,
Yeah. Hmm.
there's a difference, right? So
Yeah, that's right.
take the time, right? Build out your profile, go through every aspect of it. And I'm not just talking about what you're doing now. Like, if you look at my LinkedIn profile, it goes all the way back to one of my first jobs working at Chili's as a server. Because what I'm trying to be able to do with putting all these different things, from working at Chili's or currently right now, like, for the last many years, I've been the resident Spider-Man at Dell Children's Hospital here in Austin, Texas. Like, it humanizes me and it closes the gap. Because right now, most of us in this world, even though we're more connected than ever, we're less connected than ever because there's so much information out there. We have more
Yeah.
disconnect because we're so lost in other people's lives. And so we have to be able to actually bring someone into our own life and to be able to share why we have that commonality as human beings. And so
Hmm.
usually your gap is this between you and your audience. every time you talk about where you've been, what you've done, and when they go, oh, me too. Wow, I've been there. Like, how many people reach out and go, dude, you work at Chili's? Me too, right? Like, boom, commonality. I just moved from knocking on your door to hanging out on your couch, right?
Yeah,
And that's what we have to be able to do. And that's where LinkedIn profile starts.
that's great advice, and I'm glad you highlighted that because yeah, in the past, the way I've used it for sure, and where a lot of people use it is just like only highlighting the most important or most successful things, or not putting a lot of thought and effort into like past positions and things like that. That's definitely somewhere where I know I can improve going forward. And what you just shared, the principle behind that I love is as soon as people can go, oh, Josh is like me, trust goes up and you can deepen and build a relationship. But if I see, oh, Josh is posing by the Ferrari he doesn't own, it's very clear we can all tell that energy when it's not you and not yours. And I'm like, well, I don't want to be like that guy. Or even if they believe the picture or the fake thing or the thing that's kind of put on, like, well, I don't have a Ferrari, so I'm not going to talk to Josh because that'll be
Yeah.
a problem. So I just want to highlight that the more that we can build those commonalities and people go, oh, I am like that, or I was like that. We are all just looking for like attracts because it creates community and safety. Like that's the psychology behind what you're saying. I think that's so important.
Yeah, dude. And I learned it a lot the hard way. I mean, before my reset and stuff like that, I'd walk into a room like, hey, I'm Joshua B. Lee. I've started 15 companies, done this, that. And a buddy of mine, Ron Lynch, was like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, I get it. You're in, insecurity. We all kind of ego kind of goes in there, but all you're doing is creating a huge gap between you and who you're talking to. They're like, okay, well, I'm not at that level. So there's no commonality, right? Like, so just throw that out. Look, we've all done different things. Like, I don't care. Even if you're a manager at McDonald's, guess what? You've had different life experiences that other people look up to and like, wow, I wish I could do that too. You have to
Yeah.
be able to share that because there are people that aspire to be in your position. But if you just talk about you in that position, not what you did to be able to get there, you've lost that opportunity to be able to build that commonality, that start that conversation, build that relationship, right? Because
Yeah.
look, relationships create opportunities, and that's what we have to be able to think of. LinkedIn is a high value, high end relationship building opportunity platform, and
Yeah.
that's what we need to. And like, dude, all that stuff all gets indexed by Google and OpenAI. So like, why wouldn't I put more information about me to be found on the web? Because it's more exhausting for me to go find my clients rather than them to find me. That's what I
Yeah.
want.
No
If I can
kidding.
either show up 100 times a week in search results, most people on LinkedIn, 0 to 100, or myself and a lot of our clients, we show up anywhere from 5 to 10,000 times a week in results. Think of
Yeah.
the different, that's a huge different opportunity cost, right? Like,
Exponential.
and it's
Yeah.
not us outreach, it's just how we're getting indexed, right? How much information, how we're putting that content out there. And it starts with a
Yeah.
profile. So that's what I
That's
want everyone to
excellent.
think about. And like, Gabe, I'll throw one more thing in there, brother. Don't just put your title on there, right? Good, that's great. You're all CEOs, directors, business owners, whatever. It says it on your LinkedIn. Like, make it about them. I always go with the XYZ statement. I help X, or I support X to do Y so they can have Z. I help X, my ideal clients. It's polarizing, right? Like, oh, that's me, that's not me, right? I'm drawing the right people in. I'm pushing the people that we're not aligned with. Like, we've all had clients that we brought in because they could pay us. And then every time we
Yeah.
get on the phone, we're like, I got to talk to Josh again. Okay, well, he's paying the bills. I got to do it. I don't want that
Yep.
anymore. I don't want that life.
Yeah.
So, like, I want to make sure people understand, hey, I'm not your guy, right?
Yeah.
X to do Y. Look, again, I mentioned McDonald's, so we might as well go down that hole. Like, if I walked to McDonald's and I said, hey, I want a Big Mac, and Gabe's like, cool, man, it's $5. Or for $2, I'll show you how to make it. And there's gonna be a lot of people that are like, well, cool, man. I want to know how to make it. Like $2, I'm saving $3. They show you how to make it. They go, I don't want to do that. That's a lot of work. Okay, can I just pay you the other
Yeah.
5? Now you paid 7. So you have to be able to show people what you do. But no one
Yeah.
cares how it's done. They care about the emotional effect of what it means to them. That's Z, right? To
Yeah.
achieve, you have, right? I help X to achieve Y so they can have, so they can achieve Z. The emotional outcome. When you get that done right on LinkedIn, they go, that's me. Ooh, I want that service. I want that outcome. And that trigger point, as a human beings, we make decisions based on some degree of love or hate. We do not make decisions being indifferent to something. And so having
Yeah.
that as a title is massively helpful to be able to distinguish you from the rest of the world.
Yeah. You're right. That's huge. And I also would say yes, there are plenty of people that will sell you, I will do your profile optimization and all of that. And there's obviously credible, awesome folks like Josh and his team. And there's plenty of people that are going to do the copy and paste of what they give to everybody. And that would be way more damaging to your brand than spending the time yourself. If you don't want to get support yet, spend the time yourself and put in time and intention. Do that over a few days, a few weeks, like really drill into that. And then ask somebody that knows you, like, does this feel like me? Or does
Right.
this feel like I'm putting on something that I'm trying to be something I'm not? And so don't just, again, don't copy and paste what somebody else said to do, because that's the fastest way to failure. Make it your own. Get real, authentic, credible support, or just take the time and invest in it.
Yeah. Gabe, do you use anything like Hemingway editor app or anything like that?
Yeah, we have some of those we use all the time.
Yeah, I mean, like everyone too, like realize like we live in a world where, you know, there's so much content's not king. We're overloaded with this stuff. It's quality is queen. And but at the same time, the average person consumes information at a fifth grade level. So if you're not actually going through to be able to put everything you're putting in there, especially your about section, being first person and being, I read so many about sections and it's like, you know, 18th level degree. And I'm like, dude, I don't even know if that exists. Is that like postgraduate school? Like, you know, like cool, you're
Yeah.
smart, but your audience, you know,
Does not
they
understand
don't
you.
even get past the first sentence.
Yeah.
So like, it's
Yeah.
okay. We're not talking about dumbing down your content. We're just making it more easily consumed.
Exactly. Cool.
And that goes with
Awesome.
your
So
content too, right? Like, cause you know, we
yeah.
talk about profiles next, you know, being able to put that content out there. Like I always believe in the 10-20-70 rule of content, which is 10% of your content needs to be about you. It's not Facebook, right? I don't need to know when your kids are going to school. Hey, first day of school, yay. I do need to know that you have them, right? They're like, oh, Gabe has kids? Me too, man. I bet we have commonality, right? So 10% of your
Yeah.
content needs to be personal. 20% of your content needs to be around your company, but not what you can do for someone. No one wants the guy that says, hey, I can make you 7 figures. No, shut up and put up or shut up, right? Like, show me how you've
Right.
done it for someone else, right? Use storytelling to
Yeah.
be able to go through there. And honestly, everyone does this on LinkedIn. No one cares about your shiny shit. So stop talking about yourself. Right. So
Yeah.
like everyone's on there, like that's why we only do it 20% of the time. I don't want you to be that guy in the room that's like, you're like, oh, dude, there's Josh. That dude never shuts up about LinkedIn. Avoid, because that's everyone on LinkedIn.
Right.
And then 70% of your content, educate, inspire your audience. Like the CEO of LinkedIn recently came out and said, look, we don't care about the viral content. We see viral content and it actually has a lot of visibility. We know it hit wrong. That's not what we want to be able to see. We want to promote content that educates and inspires our audience and shows them how to be able to achieve the results they're looking for. So
Yeah.
when you do
That's
that, it gets
awesome.
indexed well and it allows you to be able to shine up and show up every single time. It works so well, dude. So like it's profile, then content, and then it's being able to draw your audience. But
Yeah.
you want to go dive deeper? I know I cover the content side quickly, but you know,
No, I think that's a great formula, and I would just encourage people, like, re-listen to that, rewatch that part, because it's easy for me, and unfortunately my team helps me out with this now too. It's easy for me to like mainline on something that I am excited about or I want to talk about all the time, and that's fine. Like I have friends and family to talk about that will gladly put up with me being my eccentric self. But and when we show up to serve in front of our audience, which is what LinkedIn is for, we connect, we build relationships, we have an audience of people that we are there to serve and make their life better. We've got to make it about them in the intention and the structure of what we're putting out there. So I love that you said, yeah, it's not Facebook, because that content I see with some folks is like, whoa, yeah, I'm glad you're all about this stuff, but it doesn't matter to me. And then, yeah, 10% about yourself, 20% about your business, and then 70% inspire, educate, help, because what happens from that, and you model this so well. Obviously, you just master this because you've put in the time for it. But when I have been able to be consistent and do that myself, the funny things happen, good funny things. Like, one, the right people are attracted to you and they reach out like, hey, let's talk. I want to work with you. Like, I love what you're doing. Like, let me learn more. And even cooler is people that I've never met, never had a direct message with, never connected with on that level, refer people to me. Because like, oh, you should.
amazing how that works, right? Like
Yeah.
no one wants to be sold because again, even if I'm the one selling,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sorry, but like I get that, like I always be selling, always be closing, all that kind of stuff like that. But
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
don't know.
like if you do it the right way, dude, like if you sell someone, you've got to continue to sell them all the time and convince them why they buy your. You educate, inspire, and draw them in. They choose to be able to work with you, or they refer someone to work with you, dude. LTV
Yeah.
goes through the roof because they
It's
made the
crazy.
decision. You don't have to keep on reminding them why.
Yeah.
And
We'll
that's
have
what
another
your content
podcast
does.
about,
Yeah.
we'll have another podcast about selling by forcing and manipulating, and selling by empowering people to choose the best thing for them, because that's
Dude,
exactly
yeah,
what
I
you're
mean, like,
talking about there.
in your content, it reinforces you as the authority and why they should work with you. It's not where the selling or the conversation happens. And this is that last piece, Gabe, because you can't just put content up there and just look up in the air and go, okay, buy me. Dude, I told you earlier, like, content's not king, right? Like, we've all been on Netflix on a Friday night and been like, damn, there's nothing to watch. Like, my wife and I we play this game. We go through for like 30 minutes looking for the show to watch. And she's like, I'm going to kill you if you don't choose something.
Yep.
Because we're overloaded with content. So content's not king anymore. There's too much, especially with AI, tons of it. Everyone's just posting
Yeah.
everything because everyone's an expert now. Quality
Yeah.
is queen. So again, we have to put that quality content out there, but quality conversations, because again, opportunities happen when you have a conversation that builds a relationship, because a relationship opens up an opportunity. People jump from connect to pitch and hope that's going to go through. They forget that whole opportunity of building the relationships and having the conversation. So how do we do that? Well, on LinkedIn, dude, I mean, like me, I use Sales Navigator. I use trigger points. I hate cold call. I hate cold email. So like for me, I'm going in, I'm looking at who viewed my profile, who engaged on my content, or who out of my ideal audience using LinkedIn's CRM system, Sales Navigator, to be able to go, hey, you took an action. You liked my post. You looked at my profile. Hey, Gabe, I saw you looked at my profile. I just want to reach out and say thank you. You know, acknowledging people for something they take for granted, it's amazing stopgap in their pattern to be able to have a conversation because you're different. And like, that's how you draw in your ideal audience. You then start looking at your content, looking at your profile, and creating that opportunity, right? This all has to work together and in sequence. You can't do the conversations before you have the profile. You can't, you know, you can do the profile, but you got to know how your content's going to be. Like, all these things kind of have to play into effect. And so that's where those conversations really kind of come into play. Because at first people are like, I put content out there, I don't get any engagement. Guess what? Most people on LinkedIn, the average person gets less than 1% engagement on their content, which is crazy, dude, because there's over 1 billion people on LinkedIn and there's over 10 billion content impressions weekly. But out of that billion people, only 4 million are actually posting on a weekly basis. Like, that's how much opportunity is there, right? But people aren't doing it. And like the average, and you know, is about 1% engagement. Our clients and myself, we get 10% and higher because we're drawing in that audience. If Gabe's my ideal audience, I identify him on Sales Navigator. I see that he's posted on LinkedIn the last 30 days. I can reach out and say, hey, Gabe, dude, I saw your recent post, man. That podcast you did with Joshua B. Lee, ball's amazing, man. It was crazy. Right. So now I'm saying thank you to him. I'm creating a stopgap and have a real conversation rather than pitching. So like, this is where it has to kind of go in. And now I'm drawing that ideal audience in that I want to see my content. They read my content. Go, ooh, this guy knows what he's talking about. Let's have a deeper conversation. And this is where the real opportunities happen, y'all, when you're trying to be able to sell anywhere. Like, our clients, dude, have their products and services range anywhere from 5,000 to, we've got some clients that have $100,000 a month. We work with some clients. Some of our clients are VPs at Microsoft. I mean, it's crazy, right? So like, it's really amazing to be able to kind of go in there and be able to humanize your brand online. And this is the ways to be able to do it. Now, we can get AI too on the ways that you talked about strategy. Those are the basics.
That was good. Yep.
Are you ready for me to drop, or you want to take a step back on the conversation? Because you know me, I just get excited.
Yeah, no, I want to dive into the AI. I'm excited about it because I'm seeing the impact of it, but you've seen more under the hood, so we need to dig into that. So tell us what's going on and what's coming in your view.
So you've seen collaborative articles, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so pay attention to collaborative articles. I told you they were doing it better than Elon Musk did. What they're doing, and they gamified it, right? So everyone gets the badge, right? It's like, oh, I get a badge. Like, dude, it's crazy. I think I have 17 badges. I think I have more badges on LinkedIn than anyone else. I when it first launched, I had 11. I had the most. So now at 17, I'm pretty sure I'm still outweighing everybody. But it was a process, and the reason why I spent so much time on it, collaborative articles are AI-driven articles. And now they're even allowing companies to come in and write the AI articles and brand them, right? So there's an advertising play on there to be able to have, you know, whoever, Gary Vee, because I know he's one of the people on there, you know, VaynerMedia is going in there and doing some of these collaborative articles. And again, it's just all a play for their side, but what they're really doing is they're getting to be able to go through and go, I want to be able to understand everyone's thought process individually on marketing. Well, not just marketing, specifically marketing to, and then sub, right? And then they write an article, and
Yeah.
then you're able to add 750 characters per section in the article. All they're doing is being able to get all this human knowledge at just a gamification about, if you get enough people that upvote and say, wow, three or more people like Gabe's post, the 750 characters, we're going to give them a marketing badge. It's amazing. And that's what they're doing. They are setting the scale to be able to get generative search going. And that's where it starts right there. And that's if everyone, like, look, yes, you have to have your profile. Yes, I want your content. Yes, articles and newsletters, like they're all super, super important in the grand scheme of things. But I want you to understand that is something that you need to spend time on as well, at least doing 1 to 2 a week, right? To be able to put yourself,
Yeah.
because I want Gabe Arnold to be the one that shows up in the results, because they're using that even higher than the rest of the indexing.
That's interesting. Yeah, I've started to engage with that and assume there's some kind of play in it, but to have you explain it is awesome because not only are they like rewarding the contributors and that raises your profile and it builds everything for my business, for my brand, but on the backside, it's going to be really interesting to see where generative search goes across the whole web, but especially I'll be curious to see if they're just going to feed that back into OpenAI and back into Bing,
Oh
or
yeah,
if there's also going to be generative search in LinkedIn.
there is. They're already starting to show it in there. I mean, look, you can't go in through OpenAI or any other platform and be able to access LinkedIn. They've got a barrier in place to be able to block. You cannot say, hey, I want to go find all of Gabe Arnold's posts unless they're already. You can get some of it on Google, but it doesn't index. It only
Yeah.
indexes a certain part of it. You can't get the full post, right? So like they have blocks
Mm-hmm.
in place because they want to own it. They want to own every aspect, and they're already ahead of everyone else. Everyone's like, oh, I'm gonna put all my information out there. They're like, cool, I'm gonna own it. I'm gonna own the
Yeah.
AI. So they don't want automation, but they are allowing some AI commenting. There are allowing some AI summarizations. Dude, I can go in there and be like, hey, I can on Sales Navigator now. I can be like, hey, I want people exactly like Gabe Arnold. It will actually use the AI to be able to find and look at your entire LinkedIn profile and then be able to pull together a list of people exactly like you that do what you do. That now I can actually build out my search and be able to say, these are the people I want to be able to have conversations with.
Very cool. That's awesome.
So, like, dude, it's where they're going. It's crazy. They're going to be able to see. They're going to be ahead of the curve. Every other major company sees it. The average person in the public does not. So, like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to tell everyone listening right now, pay attention, start putting all your content out there, because that's more than ever. Like articles, dude, like take your articles. You do not get a ding, like you would say, like if I put my article on my own blog and then put it on Medium and they're like, oh, duplicate content, doesn't happen on LinkedIn, right? Like I'll actually
Yeah.
get your same article, put it on LinkedIn, and I'll actually get it to show up higher on, results for, you know, what's it called? Jesus, I can't even think of what, on Google than I am anything else. So like, that's what I want everyone to think
Right.
about.
Why do you think? Because I've noticed that indexing change too. I mean, for a while now, a couple of years at some level, but obviously even more recently. What's the driver behind that? It's just how they're disseminating it with their AI platform, or how is it indexing so fast? Do you know?
I mean, it's index, it's all in there. AI is all in there, dude. I mean, like that's what I want you to think about, is because it's all involved into everything. Like it really is such an opportunity for everyone to be able to take advantage of something that no one is even thinking about, where it's going, what's happening. I mean, they are thinking steps ahead of everyone. Gabe, I mean, like it
Gotcha.
really is steps ahead of what they're trying to be able to do, the future of search, the future of business, how they're actually going to try and be able to control this. This is what they're thinking about. They want to be able to understand, like, if I want a solution, where do I go? It's the most trusted website, LinkedIn. How do I want to index? People are putting information up there. I'm not losing myself in someone else's life like I am on Facebook or TikTok or something like that. Yeah, they're trying
Yeah.
video. Dude, like, okay, this has happened recently. I assume it's out, but they just made have you tried, this is my ADHD kicking in. Have you done any, like my father-in-law, like they are crushing it right now on using YouTube TV, specific ads. Like no one's really using that right now, but like YouTube ads,
Interesting.
like YouTube TV ads, like being able to go to that specific target's working like gangbuster, and they're $100 million a year company. and they're seeing this.
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn just did a deal with NBC Universal to be able to start doing that same thing.
Wow. So out of their ad platform, you can push out into those. That's cool.
So
definitely gonna have to try that one.
There's a lot of cool things, right? They're using AI to be able to identify the audiences and be able to go through. They're giving you ideas on being how to create the post. Like, look, I've used LinkedIn's AI to be able to write a post. I was like, okay, cool. It's going to use their algorithm. It didn't. It didn't. I didn't get more visibility than I can write myself. They're still holding things back. That's just like if everyone thinks that Chat GPT-4 is the best one out there. Like, dude, they're like at 10 right now on the backside that they're just not getting access to. So that's where I want everyone to pay attention to. Like, get on LinkedIn, start getting it. Even newsletters, like everyone right now, one of our people that you and I both know, Perry Belcher, he's out there right now going, dude, newsletters, I'm making millions on them. And they're not even going in to be able to take that information. It's only you're sending to your audience. What if that being able to get access, what's on that newsletter, what's going on, could actually get indexed not only on LinkedIn, not only on OpenAI, but also Google, and the visibility that you would actually get from that and be able to actually connect with that audience and actually know exactly who they are, where they live, all these things that you and I would use, like the ask method from Ryan Levesque, right? Like we would have to be able to use that to be able to get that information. We already have it all. Dude, that's
wild.
And it's crazy. Like my newsletters are actually getting indexed faster than my posts now on Google.
Interesting.
So I know I went like a huge crazy circle. Hopefully it all makes sense for everybody. I just get excited about this stuff because there's so much going on, and it's it's fun. It's what they care about because they're trying to find the right way to be able to do things. I believe. I mean, look, there's always ill intent somewhere. There's always one person in the business who knows what's going to happen. I can't control that. Like people come to me like, why does LinkedIn do that? Like, dude, I don't know. I don't own the platform. I just know how to be able to use it and leverage it. And honestly, I don't even care about the LinkedIn algorithm. I actually pay attention to the human algorithm on that platform. And that's how I continue to be able to do what I do for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I want everyone to pay attention to. It doesn't matter what platform you're using. Like, yeah, everyone goes, oh, Josh, the LinkedIn guy. Honestly, LinkedIn's the vehicle of what I use. I'm the human algorithm guy. I understand human algorithm. Again, growing up as an only child, things like that, I paid attention to those things. And I just use that in my current business. And now I understand how to be able to have the conversations that build relationships, that create opportunity on a platform that most people don't understand.
Yeah. And I think a couple of things I want to go back to what you said.
Yeah, because I've been talking like whole long and I wouldn't shut up.
No, that's why you're here. I'm here to listen and learn just like everybody else. You said something really fascinating that I didn't notice until you pointed it out, because I follow all the congressional hearing stuff a lot because I'm a political junkie. I don't talk about that all online much. It's not my preference to broadcast that stuff, but I'm a political junkie across the board, and I'm not really party affiliated. I just find politics and economics and all that stuff fascinating. So I follow it really closely because it impacts business, and it's, there's a lot of cool things there. But I didn't notice that LinkedIn has never been in trouble that I remember. So if it happened, it was a small deal, or maybe it didn't happen. And if I'm going to recommend to, somebody that follows me, one of my clients, a friend, somebody that I care about, anybody in my audience that's truly somebody I really want to serve, of course, I'm going to recommend to them to invest time and effort into the best platform, the most trustworthy platform. And I've told people for years, like, be careful on Facebook, because whatever's working today, they will absolutely burn to the ground within the next 6 to 18 months. But if we're going to invest time, it's just mind blowing to me on that front. But if we're going to invest time and effort and grow our businesses and want to connect with more humans and make the impact we want, why not choose the most effective platform that has been good since day one? And so I just want to really call that out. Like, if you're going to spend time and effort,
was the year LinkedIn started. We're at 21 years. And I always make the joke, Gabe. I go, everyone's excited now. Like, oh, LinkedIn, Josh, like they've been talking about, like, it's 21 now, it can finally drink, so everyone's excited. I don't know, it's legal. Like, it's just one of those things. But like, dude, longer than any other platform out there, and there's a reason. Has it been in trouble? It's not at these congressional hearings because of what they continue to be able to do. And like, pay attention to this stuff. Like I've been doing, Gabe. Yeah, there's slight adjustments based on what's happening in the world, but I'm not adjusting it based on LinkedIn and what they're shifting and changing. I've been doing the same thing for 10 years. Tell me another person that I don't care if it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is, based on the algorithm, they've got to find the next hacker trick to be able to actually shift and be able to go in. And like, and there's other, like, dude, like you do it really well on a lot of platforms because again, you're paying attention to the humans and how they actually work and be able to go through. It's not always, I watch what you do. I watch the content you put out there and you're very intentional, but like most people are not like us that we're able to continue to do the same thing over and over every single year. We don't have to reinvent
Yeah.
ourselves. We don't have to reinvent our content. And that's what people need to pay attention to.
Yeah, I thank you, man. I appreciate that. I'm always trying to grow in my level of intention and attention and how I can show up for people. And so knowing that it's historically, and I believe in the future, obviously going to be a safe bet to invest in this platform. The thing that I think comes up for me sometimes when I'm like, oh my God, I'm super excited. Clearly, Josh has guided us well here in the conversation and people are going to get a ton of value from this. Sometimes as entrepreneurs, and I still do this even 20 some years in the game now, like, oh, I got to do it all at once and I got to do a zillion posts a day and I do all this. So I think to kind of put a capstone on this, and then I want to talk about how people can work with you and connect with you when they're ready. What would you say is like an effective cadence of, obviously we know first get your profile solid. That's like foundational. That's more of a one-off thing. You're not going to be updating, changing that all the time. Like obviously add your new accomplishments, keep building your story as your life story unfolds. But once I have that in place, how would you recommend people think about posting articles and then finding those people that engage and of course reaching out and saying thank you for liking it? That is pretty simple, but in the content is queen, the quality of the content, what is the timing and sequence of that? Because on other platforms we do have to kind of play the games or go, oh, if I don't do X posts a day or I don't do this thing, it's just not going to work, and we have to play that. Whereas here we are just really talking about a platform that honors the human connection. So what do you think is a wise baseline for somebody's like, okay, I get it, I'm going to spend more time here, build my business, meet new people, build those relationships? What's that cadence, or like, what does that look like to you?
Here it is, man. I mean, look, there's platforms like Twitter. We got to post 3 times in our X. I still can't say X half the time.
It's Twitter to me. So.
Whatever these platforms, like you got to post multiple times a day, being able to go in. Like, look, I'm dying these days. Like I've been trying to, play the YouTube game. I'm doing all right, but like my daughter who's 12 recently, she just had a video that hit 4 million views and it's her just playing a video game on her phone with some music in the background. And I'm like,
I know, what are we doing?
I'm like, dude, I'm trying to do all this education, inspiration. I'm like, what the? I'm like, all right, I'm hiring the 12-year-old. Like, just no. But like those followers don't like this, that whole piece, right? Like, it's not a followers game. It's not a numbers game. I'd rather have a couple hundred connections that are actually giving and adding value back and forth between me and them than having 100,000. Like, dude, I see people all the time. They have 100,000 followers and they get like 5 comments on their posts, right? Because again, they just play the collection game, right? Being able to go in. So like, this is that whole shift. LinkedIn, for our clients that we do, I mean, like, and like I said, dude, I'm very blessed, man. I've really been able to work with a lot of amazing men and women. I used to read their books on how to be able to start my own companies years ago, from John Maxwell, Dan Sullivan. I mean, like these days, Evan Carmichael, JJ Virgin, like amazing humans, right? Like from around the globe. And it's not like they're having to post every single day. Like, honestly, for our clients, we go through and post 3 times a week.
Nice.
That's it. I'm like, we're not trying, like, everyone can be able to do that, right? You can, the minimum I want you to be able to look at, like, of course you can post every day. Don't post more than once a day, right? But like the minimum I want to be able to see is 3 posts a day. Like we'll look at it like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or like I always give 24 hours for that content, at least it's not 48 for it to breathe. Because the difference in LinkedIn compared to other platforms, when I post a TikTok video, it's gone within the next couple hours. I still get engagement on content that I posted 4 years ago. So
that's a good point.
Content stands the test of time. Dude, like I looked at an article I wrote 5 years ago, like, yeah, I got a couple thousand views. It's now at like 400,000 views because it continues to get visibility because of that indexing over time. Like, other than YouTube, there's no other platform that can actually do that. So like, this is what I want everyone to understand. So it's not, I don't have to put a ton of content out there. Like LinkedIn doesn't want a whole bunch of content from one heavy user, unless you're a household name, Ariana Huffington, Tony Robbins, Gary Vee.
Yeah.
They post every hour. They know that Gary Vee is screaming at the top of the lungs. Everybody, you better get on that fucking platform on LinkedIn or you're missing out, right? That's the one platform he's yelling at everyone. Like, are you crazy? Even my daughter, I posted a video. She goes, he cusses a lot. I'm like, he does.
He does. More than us.
You know, he's intense. He's intense. But
Yeah.
you know, like, so that's the whole thing, right? Like, and you want to be able to adjust your content. Like, they're trying out videos, stuff like that, you know, 30 to 60-second videos. Like, people aren't losing themselves on LinkedIn, aren't losing their lives in someone else's life. So like, think about that, right? So like, you know, if you're going to post a video 30 to 60 seconds, like, they don't spend as much time. They're going there to be able to find answers, to be able to do research, to be able to make business decisions, not to be able to go, cool, what's Gabe's stance today, right? To be able to go through.
Yeah.
Probably why I don't do well on TikTok, because I don't dance very well. Be honest, my wife makes fun of me. But, you know, it's one of those pieces. So like 3 times a day, adjust your content from never do a
3 times a week, right?
post. I'd want to, you know, post with a picture, real and raw versus overproduced every day of the week. If I see overproduced, I'm waiting for the pitch because I think it's a commercial. Video is the same thing, 30 to 60 seconds. Make sure you're adding captions. If you do add captions, like something like CapCut, make sure you turn auto captions off on LinkedIn, because they automatically do that. Because now you got double captions and it looks stupid. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've done that by accident because I forget they auto caption. I usually caption my stuff.
It's just one of those things. And then 2, yeah. I love carousels. The carousels we'll be able to do on LinkedIn are PDFs. So like, you take your image, you expand to a full size PDF, and you put it in Action, and that's how you look. That's actually one of the best visible places on LinkedIn, because it's the biggest that you can actually make it visible, and they can actually make it the entire screen, and they can download it. So if you do a PDF carousel, make sure you have a call to action on every single image, so they know what's going on, and put information that they would want to download and share.
Right.
So these are the things that I want people to think about. Like newsletters, I do a newsletter every other week. You can do it every week. What's going on? If you got a podcast like this, Gabe, dude, podcasts are so powerful with newsletters. Like, our clients that do newsletters and podcasts, we'll take a summary of the different podcasts, like 2 or 3 every month, do that newsletter, or hell, you can do one every week, depending on how often you push podcasts out. You already have all the information. You can embed the podcast in the newsletter. You can actually then take the audio, embed that. You can then put, you know, the entire script on there, because you're putting it in the way that someone takes information. Some people read the book, other people listen to the audio. A lot of us these days wait for the movie to come out. So you're putting it in the way they consume information. So it's a great way to be able to get additional downloads and get that thing indexed like crazy.
Nice.
So and it's got 100% deliverability. Newsletters, dude, like, don't just do an article, turn it into a newsletter, because guess what? When they email their audience, whenever it goes out, it hits their inbox without question. We talked about Gmail earlier. There is no blockage. They get 100% deliverability to someone's inbox. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So those are the things I want everyone to think about. Like, now we talk about being able to do outreach. I had a friend of mine, James, reach out to me. He's like, hey, dude, I know LinkedIn's a numbers game. Like, are you just trying to piss me off? Like, you know I don't like that. Don't tell me that shit. Like, I think you're just trying to get me riled up now. You're like, you started the conversation off wrong. I was like, hold on. I'm trying to pick up my kid for school too. And I'm like, hold on. I'm like, calm down, Sky. I got to get in this real quick. And I'm like, so like, you're telling me it's a numbers game. So LinkedIn only allows 400 connections a month. All right. Because again, of spamming, all the spammers that are out there, you can only connect to 400 people. So you're telling me that if you only get 400 connections, messages, because if you're going to send an email, that's just advertising, that spam, that we all see it. We all know.
Yeah. Right.
If I get 400 connections, if I divide that up by 4 weeks in the month, that means I get 100 connections a week. That means I get 20 connections a day. You're telling me that you can't identify people that are on LinkedIn, that are your ideal audience, that have actively been active on LinkedIn in the last 30 days, and you can't send 20 connection messages that are personal every day? You don't have time for that? It's okay. I'm sorry. Now, if you don't, look, hire us. We'll do it for you. But
exactly. Yeah, no, I love that they. Yeah, I'm so glad they clamped down on like connections and messaging, and they fixed the inbox relatively recently. They said I got the rollout of like the inbox is so much better, because it just got too much noise of people that, you know, trying to get me to hook up with them to, you know, buy my thing. And so they've done a really great job of like protecting us from the scammy people on the platform.
They are, and it's getting better, and it's going to continue to get better. I mean, with what they're doing to be able to analyze content at a faster rate, to be able to analyze inboxes, like all this comes into like there is a LinkedIn algorithm. Like I said, I don't care about, but there is a basic LinkedIn algorithm. Obviously. They a thing called social selling index score that starts it. You can look it up on Google and look up social selling index score. It kind of gives you the basis of where you're at. But like,
Hmm.
it's not about how much money you spend. It's, are you engaging with insights? Are you adding value? Are you building conversation? Are you building relationships? Right? Like, there's nothing about money. And so it does matter,
Yeah.
right? Like, you have to be engaging on other people's posts. You have to be, and dude, this is another thing, right? Like, when you post, don't just post and ghost. Everyone posts, they go, and then they run off. Engage on a couple of people's posts before you post, and then engage on a couple of people's posts after. LinkedIn sees this. They see that you're actively adding value to the platform. So do that. You need to
Yeah.
be able to do that to be able to get more visibility anyway. When they see you add value, they give you value back. They show you more visible. They give you more opportunity, right? So like,
Yeah.
post, engage, make sure you respond to messages, make sure you respond to comments, right? Like, things like that. I'm telling you, the average person, once you actually get the right strategy in play, you need about, if you can invest an hour a day, Monday through Friday on LinkedIn, I promise you it is worth thousands of dollars of clients in your to your business. And it's not just
Yeah.
that. The clients will be a byproduct of what you're doing, because you're going to get branding, you're going to get indexing, you're going to get visibility, you're going to get authority. Those are going to be the primary things. If you're really doing it the right way, that's where the real value will be. The byproduct is the client. And that's what we do
Yeah.
for our clients. And dude, it is amazing to be able to see.
Yeah. Great advice, man. So you covered well, kind of the basics of what you do. I
Did
definitely
I miss
encourage everybody,
anything?
if you don't have if you don't have the time, Josh is somebody I trust. I've known him a long time. He's been doing this a decade. Those are the kind of people that, like I said early on, are legendary leaders, and they're people that I'm always happy to have on stage and in front of my folks, because I want trustworthy, effective, kind people
Yeah,
to
brother.
be in my world. So I
Well,
value and
dude, like,
appreciate you,
that's the whole
Josh. And
thing. You said, you just want to be able to get it done, dude. I share everything that what I do on LinkedIn. Like, you'll eventually get there.
yeah,
You just want to save time. That's the only
yeah,
reason why I would want anyone to be able to work with us. Because again, I want to be able to gift the opportunity for everyone to be able to truly create a change on this planet. Because, dude, I try to be able to change the world on my own. Damn near killed myself doing it. Like, I can't. I
yeah,
need
yeah,
amazing human beings like yourself, your listeners, to be able to understand how to be able to do this better way. Because I had such a hand in monetizing the web. I need help by other amazing humans to humanize it, right? Like, to be able to show up and be able to change
yeah,
it, not just for my kids and your kids, but the future generations. So like, I'm always going to be able to share with anybody as much as possible.
yeah. I appreciate you, man. This has been a blast, and I would encourage everybody, if you for some reason are not following Josh on LinkedIn, look him up. That's the best place to be educated, inspired, learn everything here. And of course, like you said, if you don't have the time, they're the people I would absolutely recommend you work with. But thanks for all the time, Josh, and we will definitely have you back on the show sometime. But I appreciate you, man.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. Thank you.